10-7 this year when they get 2 or more days off between games. They don't get this here. Obviously, they played just 2 nights ago against Indiana in that loss. They're just 5-7 when they only have 1 day rest. So we'll see if they can improve on that record tonight. And the tip is won by the Seattle Storm, and Jordan Canada starts things off. Alicia Clark, who was quiet in that last game, as was Jewell Loyd, who's got the ball right now. Feeds back to Clark. Little left-handed runner there, tipped around. Mercedes Russell tries to keep it alive, and does, but to the hands of Connecticut. Number 1 and number 2 in steals in the WNBA, these 2 teams. So you're bound to see some quick hands on the defensive end.
And those quick hands overwhelmed Seattle in the 4th quarter in Connecticut, stealing a win when Seattle at one point had led by 13 points in the second half.
Crisp ball movement right there, leading to the best shot we've seen Jewell Loyd hit in a couple of games.
Well, and the key to that was that crisp ball movement. They got the ball in rhythm to Jewell Loyd. It was just turn, shoot. There wasn't any dribbling or any hesitation by her at all.
The big 1-2 in the middle by Thomas, and that shot is blocked. Here is your up-to-the-minute standings. The 2 teams chasing Seattle have won, so Seattle now in a tie with the Lynx right now for that 6th spot. You want that 5 or that 6, so you are hosting a first-round playoff game.
Yes, remember the format that changed a couple of years ago. 5 will play 8, 6 will play 7 in a 1-game knockout style in the first round.
Courtney Williams can fill it up with that quickness, and nice pull-up jump shot there by the guard from South Florida. Here's Clark, gets a good look at a shot. Just 2 really solid strokes in rhythm. Jewell Loyd and then Alicia Clark.
Well, a big screen set by the big Mercedes Russell, just getting out there and giving a little bit of space for Alicia Clark to work.
Williams gets a big pick. Bounce pass off the foot of a Seattle defender. And the outlet to the corner tipped away by Jordan Canada. Here's that big pick you were talking about.
Well, right here, just getting in the way of Strickland. And she was trying to fight through it. That's not going to happen. And she gets stuck behind. And that gave Clark all the time she needed.
There's Alicia playing in front there, poking the ball free from Shakina. The lob pass over the top would have been nice to Natasha Howard, but it's intercepted by Thomas. Going coast to coast on Mercedes Russell. Got a little piece of that. And Alyssa Thomas will go to the free throw line for 2.
Canada trying to push that tempo, get it ahead to Howard, who, in my opinion, is the fastest post player baseline to baseline in this league. She's so dangerous when she's just side to side with you. All of a sudden you look up and there's not that much room. This is on the other end. Mercedes trying to be big, intimidate down low, and just a little bit too much.
You see that funky delivery by Alyssa Thomas. It has not worked for her at the free throw line this year. She is shooting 52%. She's almost as good from the field. She shoots 50% from the field, 52 from the line. That's going to be down closer to 50 now after those 2 missed free throws.
Well, and this team is not just the worst team in the league in shooting free throws. They're the worst in about 8 years, since 2011 with Atlanta. It has not been pretty from the stripe for the Sun.
Jewell Loyd hits that field goal. Seattle's guards already have more field goals tonight than they did all of Sunday.
Yeah, it's just one of those games that they could not get on track. Nobody could get on track.
Canada flips it up. That one's no good. Jonquel Jones, the league's leading rebounder, pulls it down. Jones inside. Oh, Natasha Howard riding the pony, going up top there. So Natasha with her first, and Jonquel Jones with a smile on her face, obviously knowing that was not intentional by Natasha Howard. Natasha can get up there. She almost got up to shoulder level on Jonquel Jones on that leap.
And Jonquel Jones is continuing her ascent to be one of the best players in the world. Remember her dunking at the All-Star game in Seattle 2 years ago.
Oh, and all the roll necessary there for Thomas. Knocks it down. Jasmine Thomas played a little bit with the Storm. Here's Canada with it. Now to Loyd. Alicia Clark diving in. The big 1-2. Ooh, off the back iron. Gets her own rebound. Thought it could have put it back up there. Instead, she decides to go back out, but maybe that's the presence of Jonquel Jones in there.
No question. You look around and see who's got the long arms to throw this away. Right here, she's trying to control it, and instead they get another possession as it goes out of bounds.
Lloyd Pullip, she's feeling it tonight, you can tell. She knocked down that first one, and anytime Jewell knocks down that first open three, she says, it's on now, green light.
It's almost as if the basket gets bigger with each make for her. And when she starts the game and she misses one, sometimes it gets smaller.
Tina Strickland, that one's off the mark. Good rebound by Howard. Seattle trying to get some points off a missed shot here. Seattle's got to score off turnovers, score off misses. That is something they did not do on Sunday. The buckets just came too difficult for them on Sunday, but they're coming much easier right now. They got 10 points already. Make it 12. The jump hook by the Mercedes.
And this is a big matchup for Mercedes Russell. She's going against one of the MVP candidates in the WNBA here this season, and she caught the ball and she got contacted and then got contacted again here. Just too much body when she got up in the air. And no intimidation going at the 6'6" Jones, who will throw that shot right back at your face if you're not careful.
Free throw miss. There's a bounce pass to Jasmine Thomas. A little bit too strong there. And Seattle will get the basketball out of the turnover, but a timeout taken by Kerr Miller. A good start for Seattle. They're up by 6. 6:04 left to go in the first quarter. 12-6 our score. We'll take a break. Hey fans, this season every free throw a Storm player makes, Alaska Airlines donates 2,000 miles to City Year. Currently, the Storm are at 363 free throws made, bringing the total miles donated to 726,000 miles. 726, not a bad number. Check out storm.WNBA.com/free throws for the future for more information. Seattle off to a very good start here thus far, shooting 63% at 5 of 8.
It's nice to see Jewell Lloyd hot from the start, 3 of 3 for 7 points to lead all scorers.
Clark, another good look. She hit one from this exact spot a moment ago, but this one's off the mark.
Clark still one of the best three-point shooters in the league in terms of percentage, almost 50% on the season.
Thomas gets it to the other Thomas in the starting five for Connecticut. Jasmine down to Jonquel Jones. Oh, nice hook move there. Gets around Natasha Howard. The combination of quickness and size of Jonquel Jones is so tough.
Out of George Washington, so not one of the huge well-known programs in the women's basketball collegiate level, but has really opened a lot of eyes with that 6'6" frame, the length, the athleticism. She is really something, a force to be dealt with.
Clark with the left, her second left-handed floater of the game. She's 0 for 2 on those. 1 for 5 overall. Williams from 15, and she's knocked down 2 mid-range pull-ups thus far.
Now, 4 different players for Connecticut average double figures. So Jonquel Jones is the headliner. She leads them at 14, but there's 4 different players that on any given night can really hurt you.
Here's Jewell again. She started red hot, 3 of 3, 7 points. Gets a screen from Russell. Now kicks it to Howard. Thinks about a 3. Now will step back and fire. Back iron. Jewell hustling through, but can't get to it. But at least she knocks it off of Thomas's hands, and it'll be Seattle basketball.
That's a good hustle play from Jewell. She won't get credit for the O board. It'll be a team board, but it's because of her tracking it down. Look at her there, just tipping it off of an orange jersey to retain possession.
Jewell, great look back to Canada. Kick to Clark. Not a 2, how about a 3? No.
And Jordan Canada was looking around, mouse in the house, didn't know who was going to block it.
Lisa tries to get back on defense and does. May have gotten a piece of it, but still, Thomas puts it up and in. Alyssa Thomas, her first deuce. Oh, and there's the steal. Second most in the WNBA are the Connecticut Sun, right behind the Seattle Storm. And there's an easy bucket and an 8-0 run, 14-12 Connecticut. That timeout working out nicely for Kurt Miller. And Dan Hughes wants to take one now. So let's talk about it, Elise. What's happened over the last minute and a half or so to Seattle's offense, which was so free-flowing?
Well, I think for Seattle, this right here is just Mercedes Russell, little lackadaisical. The big player on top, just running the offense, and she's been told, all right, when you get it, reverse it to the wing. Well, that's not what Connecticut allows you to do. They get out, they pressure, they deny the wings you can't just sit and run your offense in a flow. You have to, every pass, ball fake, and make sure that it's there and they're not trying to overplay. And then take advantage of it. If you really want to beat Connecticut, when ball fake, they'll run in the lane and then backdoor and do something like that.
Hey, fans, in support of WNBA Breast Health Awareness, you can visit WNBA.com/assess-risk and put awareness into action to reduce your risk of breast and ovarian cancers. Dick Fain, Elise Woodward with you. Alaska Airlines Arena, good start for Seattle at 12-6, but an 8-0 push by the Connecticut Sun. And you saw the turnover there, the 4th Seattle turnover already. There's 2 for the Connecticut Sun, so these two teams doing what they do best, and that's making the opponent cough it up. Seattle number 1 in steals, Connecticut number 2 in steals. And the quickness of those guards, you know, Connecticut doesn't have any all-star, really caliber guards that you think of when you think of the best guards in the WNBA. You don't think of the Connecticut Sun guards, but they're so good defensively, and they're so well-rounded, they can really do a lot of different things.
Well, I just think they put such pressure on your offense because they'll get out, they'll deny passes, they'll pressure the ball. You're never really totally comfortable when you're playing against those Connecticut guards.
Here's Russell again. She hit a turnaround a moment ago. This was off the mark. Gets her own rebound with the help of Natasha Howard. And now 10 on the shot clock for Natasha. Dribble handoff. Canada working the left hand. Tries to get the foul. Doesn't get it. And Connecticut comes up with it on another turnover by Seattle. Williams again, short, gets her own rebound, put back good. Courtney Williams, 6 early points.
Now the pass to the rim for Courtney Williams. She literally threw it up there, didn't go in, but the shooter knows if she's short or not, and she follows her shot to perfection.
Storm fans getting a little antsy here with the Let's Go Storm chant. They need this offense to get on track like it was in the first 3 minutes of this quarter, and that's the reason Jewel Lloyd was the one starting that fire. Here's Natasha Howard on a second chance opportunity and puts it up and in. Good vision by Alicia Clark.
That offensive rebound left the defense out of position, and somehow the best scorer for Seattle's wide open underneath the rim, and Clark found her.
Long pass inside Jones. It's going to be tough to defend in there, but they do. You won't see Jonquel turn the ball over or miss a shot too often from 2 feet. Here's Canada, who walks with the basketball. Tried to jump stop, but a little shuffle there. Turnover number 5. Here comes Crystal Langhorn. Sammy Whitcomb as well, replacing Mercedes Russell and Jewel Lloyd. A nice hand for those 2 players. Lloyd checks out with 7 points on 3 of 4 shooting. Russell with a deuce and a rebound.
Jonquel Jones in 7 minutes, just 2 points in the matchup versus Mercedes Russell. We'll see what Crystal Langhorn can do, giving up a lot of size, almost over 4 inches to Jonquel Jones.
And a 3-second violation. Turnover on Connecticut.
And if you're an official, it's the one place you don't want to be is right in front of Kurt Miller after you make a call.
Langhorn's got it. She had a very good game last week. A little quiet on Sunday, but just about everybody was quiet on Sunday for Seattle. Let's see if Crystal can get going from behind the arc. And does. We have talked many times about her newly found three-point shooting prowess that she has never had until 2019.
Yeah, just a good weapon as a post player, especially one that's undersized like Langhorn.
First 2 games against Connecticut, Seattle was 7 of 33 from three-point range. Thus far, they are 3 of 4, so that is trending well.
And Jonquel Jones wants to stand in the middle of the key and intimidate, block shots, alter shots, and when there's a post player like Langhorn that can step out and make a 3, it changes the Suns' defense.
Williams triple teamed inside. That leaves somebody open. It's Jonquel Jones. And right as the clock expires, we've got one official saying violation and one saying foul.
And Natasha Howard saying, I didn't even touch her, so if you're calling a foul, but this is going to come down to the clock. They're going to go back. The whistle was blown. One official signaled a foul, the other one with that shot clock, and so they'll go check the monitor, and this will be simple. Either the clock ran out or it didn't.
Jeff Smith indicated a foul underneath, and immediately T.R. Cruz said, all right, we're going to take a look at this. And we will as well when we get that racked for the officials. Seattle right now leading 17-16. Seattle trying to win their first game of the season against Connecticut. They have beaten every other team. That really was remarkable to me when I read that Seattle had beaten every team in the WNBA except for Connecticut, and thinking about how shorthanded Seattle is. That is how competitive Dan Hughes has gotten this team. Not only in the playoffs, not only above 500 record, but they have not been swept by anybody. And if they win this game, they will not be swept by anybody in the 2019 season.
Well, I think there's teams in the playoffs that you don't want to face. And Seattle's one of those teams. One, because of their championship pedigree. They are the defending champs. And even though Brianna Stewart is not here, and even though Sue Bird may or may not be back, but she has not played a game and has not practiced with the team yet on the court, those are things that make it a significantly different team than a year ago. But they're the kind of team, they have beaten every team in this league. They've beat Washington. They have beaten Vegas. They've been really competitive with Connecticut, but yet to get that win. But especially in a one-game knockout series in the first and second rounds, who's going to want to see Seattle?
No question. It's certainly right here. If you could play at Alaska Airlines Arena, and the review will say the foul on Natasha Howard occurred prior to the 24-second shot clock violation.
So look up right here. Is it zeros?
I didn't see a foul. That's the problem.
Right here where Natasha might have got her elbow, right? If you look, there's the zero on the shot clock up above, and what was perceived as a foul right there.
Okay.
She still had the ball in her hands, and if they believe that she made contact on that arm, that's the right call.
Two knocked down by Jonquel Jones. Sammy Whitcomb tries to answer. Ooh, badly missed off the glass. Here's Thomas with it, and she is fouled, and that's not one Dan Hughes wants to see. A foul 2 feet from the basket on a semi-break.
Now, that was one where Seattle's defense never got back in time to set their defense, and Jordan Canada, not much you can do. Thomas so tough. I mean, the good news is she only shoots 50% from the free throw line, but you don't want to give up fouls like that, and Jordan Canada is going to come to the bench. Natasha Howard with 2 fouls for Seattle.
Shavonte Zealous into the game, replacing Canada. Dan Hughes with just a couple of words of encouragement to Jordan as she walked to the bench. He didn't really admonish her, but she knows what she did.
Well, and I think for Jordan Canada, this is a game where it's a testing ground for her to be the point guard of this team against this kind of pressure defense of Connecticut, and she was not there, was not able to play in that loss at Connecticut.
Whitcomb feeds Langhorne. That one's turned over. Man, Seattle's been sloppy in the last 5 minutes. Williams feeds. Oh, the great touch pass. My goodness. Thomas inside to Jones.
You can hear the whole crowd being like, oh, even they can appreciate that athleticism hanging in the air for Jones.
Here's Whitcomb. Gives up a chance at a three. Sets up Langhorne, and she knocks it down. And Elise, that snaps a streak of 6 consecutive quarters that Seattle has not scored 20 points. That is the longest streak of the season. So that's a little monkey off their back right there, that they actually put together a good offensive quarter.
And it's nice to see Crystal Langhorne coming in, knocking down 2 different long-range jumpers.
Williams, that one's long. Rebound by Langhorne. Look at this. Seattle could tie or take the lead at the break here at the end of the first quarter. Harris hands off to Clark. Sammy with it. Now with 7 on the shot clock. Here comes Langhorne for a screen left to right. Oh, and she throws it right to Shekinna Strickland. Shekinna feeding Williams inside and puts it up and in. Another turnover by Seattle. Turnover number 6 for 8 Connecticut points.
That pressure is just so smothering on those high picks.
Zealous got to put it up. Shot blocked, and that's the end of the first quarter. If you're going to beat the Connecticut Sun, you're going to have to play at least an A-, B+ game. They're down by 4 right now. Hey, fans of Storm games, the BECU Early Saver Zone offers discounted general admission tickets starting at just $12 for kids, $17 for adults, so the fans can enjoy the game and save some money on tickets. Go to www.stormbasketball.com/early saver for more information or to purchase tickets. Seattle Storm have dropped 3 of 4, 6 of their last 9. Playing much better tonight than they did on Sunday, but not well enough to take the lead. They trail by 4 right now, and they're getting beat in the paint again badly, just like they did against Indiana. 16-4 right now, Elise, in the paint.
Well, and those points in the paint have come off a lot of transition. It's fast break, lay in, because Seattle cannot hang on to the basketball. Connecticut had 5 steals in the first quarter.
Triple on the way. Karen pulled down by Mosqueda Lewis, who's checked in for the first time. So all bench players on the floor for Seattle right now, and they cough it up again. 7 turnovers.
Yeah, right out of the timeout, too. That's a frustrating one. The crowd getting silent, a little impatient right now. Those 5 steals in the first quarter, on pace for 20 steals in the game for Connecticut. They set their franchise record the last time these two teams met in Connecticut, when Seattle had 27 turnovers. You just can't do that because Connecticut's had way too many easy buckets after those picks.
And the amazing thing is, if Seattle only had 26 turnovers in that game, they probably would have won. Because they coughed it up at the very end when they could have won the game. Here's Paris with it. Whitcomb has it. Good look. Doesn't take it. Now to Langhorn. Back cutting is Zealous. Doesn't find her. Instead, back to Kalina. Good pump fake. Step back 3 on the way. Ooh, that's something we haven't seen from Mosqueda Lewis. A little pump fake. Step back 3 ball.
Well, and when Seattle has shot the ball, they've shot it really well. 5 of 7 from deep, and they're shooting 45% from the floor. But you got to hang on to the ball to get a shot.
Jones, no good. It's Seattle's bench against some starters. Mostly starters for Connecticut right now. Which means that Seattle starters should come in against the bench of Connecticut here shortly. See if Seattle can stay close over the next 2 or 3 minutes. Three ball, Thomas. Ooh, in and out. That was going down. Zealous works it to the right side. Now gets it to Whitcomb. Back to Shavante. Sammy around a Langhorn screen. Good dive by Crystal. Pump fake and a great feed to Courtney. Paris pulls the lane. Gets her own rebound and misses. Oh, Courtney. 0 for 2 there. And the other way, a bucket. That is just a killer.
Yeah, 4-point swing. I think everyone was a little bit surprised at that pass, able to get down to Courtney, including herself. Didn't look like she was quite ready.
Dan's going to bring Jewel Lloyd and Mercedes Russell back into the game. He's been quick on the trigger with mistakes today. He knows these games deep in the season are big, and Seattle can't get it off before the shot clock violation. He pulled Jordan Canada after a bad foul. He's now pulled Courtney Paris after an 0 for 2 here in point-blank range.
Yeah, you can see just underneath the basket a little bit. I think she was trying to get rebounding positioning, thinking the shot was going to go up, and then they run out and get another fast break bucket. Seattle's defense is the strength of this team. They have not been able to set up consistently in the half court like that possession, forcing a miss. When Connecticut has gone out and run and get easy 2-on-2 or 3-on-2 situations, it's not been good for Seattle.
Shavante Zealous misses. Rebound plaisance. You're right. When it's half court, Connecticut's really settled for a lot of jumpers. Thomas with it. Goes inside on Langhorn. Draws contact. And right now the mojo is definitely in favor of the orange and blue.
And on this one, I think the scouting report is don't give up lay-ins to Thomas. If anything, make sure you foul her. She's had such difficulties at the foul line.
And Thomas knocks that one down. 1 for 3 from the free throw line. Seattle has done a nice job off the bench. 9-0. And now they're going to get some more starters in as The backcourt is back in for Seattle, Lloyd and Canada. And a 2 for 2 there for Thomas, the 50% free throw shooter. Canada working on Thomas. Gives it up to Mosqueda Lewis. She's hit one. This one's badly missed. A little rushed.
The pure shooter just turns around and kind of throws her arms in the air like, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, you don't see her miss by that much very often.
Usually thing rims in and out most of the time with Selena Mosqueda Lewis when she misses. Doesn't miss badly like that very often.
Thomas, hands on it as Canada. Pokes it loose, now back to Thomas. Morgan Tuck into the game. More hands by Canada, getting those deflections. Long distance jumper with 1 on the shot clock. They're not going to get it off. No siree. Good defense. How about Jordan Canada right there on that possession? Yeah, those won't go as steals, but those deflections are counted by the coaching staff. And Jordan Canada getting after on that defensive possession. And again, Seattle has given the ball away to Connecticut, yet only trail by 5. When they have set up in their half-court defense, Connecticut has not been effective. Oh, there's a nice play there. And one. Jewel Lloyd pumping her fist saying, let's get going here. All right? And Mercedes Russell did what Courtney Paris could not, and that's make that point-blank layup off the dive. And here, it's a beautiful read by Jewel Lloyd, creating plays for her teammate. 5:58 left to go in the first half. Seattle's got a chance to get down by 2 with the free throw after this. Hey fans, join us Sunday, September 1st at 4 o'clock for Fan Appreciation Night, supported by Anthony's, to watch your Storm take on the Atlanta Dream right here on Carter Subaru Court at Alaska Airlines Arena in Seattle. Amazes me every year, Elise, that we show up for the opener and then it seems like a month later the season's over. I mean, it goes so fast, doesn't it? It really does. With only 17 home games, I think especially this year since it's been split between Everett and University of Washington. Free throw off the mark. That'll be Connecticut basketball. Natasha Heidemann, the rookie from Marquette, into the game for the first time. And unlucky there. The ball deflected right into her hands. That was Teresa Plaisance with the bucket. Seattle basketball down 5. Lloyd rises, fires short. There's Thomas coming the other way. Step back, Tuck. No. Lloyd keeps it for herself and gets it up to Jordan Canada. Hesitates, floats one up with the right hand. No, Natasha bats it forward, but into the hands of Morgan Tuck. There's Jewel almost stealing that one. 3-on-2 the other way. Plaisance, back iron. Rebound, no good. But another offensive board. Tuck's going to fire away again and hit Morgan Tuck. The fourth-year forward out of Connecticut, knocking down the 3-ball, giving Connecticut now a 7-point lead. That's their biggest of the game. Natasha got the quickness advantage on Tuck, but loses handle of the basketball. Another turnover, make it 9 for Seattle. And now double-digit points off turnovers already for Connecticut. And that was a beautiful finish. Out in transition, unselfish, just quick trigger passing, and Seattle could not catch up. 10-2 run for the Connecticut Sun. 12 points early for Seattle. They only have 13 cents back after this. Hey fans, interested in becoming a new Storm 360 season ticket member in 2020? Of course you are. All you got to do is place a $100 per seat deposit now and get in line for next season and receive playoff priority on the current 2019 Storm playoff run. Call 206-217-WNBA to place your deposit today. That's 206-217-9622. Here's Plaisance and finishing it off, the last bucket there for the Connecticut Sun as they lead by 9 points, 34-25. But Jewel Lloyd cutting into that with a long-range jump shot. Good play off the timeout. Little clap for Dan Hughes saying, hey, you ran what I asked you to that time. Yeah, Jewel Lloyd now in double figures.
And for Seattle, like I've said, they're not playing poorly offensively except for those miscues.
Right.
And then that, in turn, is really affecting their defense. They can't get back, but they're getting good looks. Their screens have been effective, and their offense has moved the ball well until they've just handed it to Connecticut.
What happened there on Connecticut's defense? They just left Jewel Lloyd.
Well, I just think that the way they're rotating, they have to communicate on every single possession, and that time they did not.
15 points a game against the Sun this season for Jewel, and she's already up to 10 on that 3 ball.
Jewel Lloyd, of course, missing a big chunk of the season with that badly sprained ankle. Good to see her getting back in the mix here.
Tough catch for Howard, and she rises and hits. That's tough to do, is kind of catch a pass that you're not expecting, and then all in one motion, rise up and hit. Thomas spinning. Oh, there's Natasha Howard. Looked like a lot of walking in there, and instead they're going to call a jump ball. Both coaches are mad. Kurt Miller says, what's the jump ball called for? And Dan Hughes is like, wasn't that a travel? So both coaches right now are getting after the officials for the same call. You don't see that very often.
Well, let's take a look at her feet right here. 1, 2. Pivot, foot's down. I don't see a travel because right there, Natasha Howard came up and got her hand on it. I think the jump ball is the correct call.
And Seattle wins it. That's good. You don't see that in many sports, ever, where both coaches are ticked off at the same call. Here's Canada with it. Russell back to Canada. The give and go has worked well. Extra touch pass to Clark. No! Man, too much passing that time or not?
Well, I just think Jonquel Jones being in the paint. Jordan Canada has just been giving up a couple of looks inside to kick it out.
Oh, 3
She got to
ball.
nail him.
Natasha Heidemann, the rookie from Marquette, with 4 points here in 3 minutes. Oh, good feed there, Natasha Howard. And this time the guard goes up and blocks the shot, but gets Natasha's arm as well, and Natasha Howard will go to the free throw line. Seattle has not lived at the line tonight. They have only 2 attempts to the 9 of Connecticut. But Connecticut doesn't commit many fouls.
Yeah, getting up there, timing it well. Trying to give Natasha Howard a piece of her own medicine. One of the best defensive players in the league.
Connecticut fouls at a rate of only 15.7 per game. That is the lowest in the WNBA. They've only committed 3 in the first half of this game.
And it's amazing with the kind of pressure that they apply and how they're on the line, up the line, and denying and in your face that they don't make a lot of contact.
Thomas spins, block shot. Here comes Canada the other way. No numbers. Forces it in anyway. Now kicks back to Russell. Howard with it. Connecticut really sagging on defense, and Howard floats it up. No, and underneath, I think it was Tuck that got Russell on the push.
You know, Russell went up to try to grab the offensive rebound. Tuck underneath, undercut her, so another good hustle play. You see right here, Tuck just getting up underneath the body of Russell when she was in the air.
Big final 2 minutes of this half. When you're down 7, you could easily cut it to 2 or 3, or you could be down by 12 at half. Let's see what happens. Natasha misses that one. Ooh, Jonquel Jones stepping into a long one. She can hit the 3, but that one was really deep and in transition. Williams sets her feet. Kind of juggled the ball a little bit. Might have thrown her off on the shot, but another offensive rebound.
And right in the area of Natasha Howard, just too many orange jerseys.
7 rebounds for Thomas, 23
that
for
might
Connecticut.
be the 3rd on Howard. Is it on Russell or Howard?
Russell. Right. Good news for Seattle, because it's only 2 on Mercedes.
2 players in the area, so now Russell and Howard both have 2, but right here, who does she trip on? Good news for Natasha and for Seattle's defense that it's not the 3rd.
Seattle trapping here in the behind the 3-point arc. Here's Jones inside, spinning on Howard and just using that body to force it up and in.
And that is on Natasha Howard, and you do not see that very often. 6'6", spinning, hanging in the air, and then reversing it. That was gorgeous.
Lloyd, you knew that was going down. She jumped and started retreating back on defense as that ball was in the air.
She's got 12 now, and you can tell she is very confident.
Really, the only thing Seattle's got going offensively. Here's Tuck inside, wave it off, foul on the floor. Who are they going to get here?
Another big screen by Mercedes Russell. They are trying to sag behind that. They've done that with Alicia Clark. They've done that with Jewel Lloyd. The defense, when Seattle is setting that screen to get to the wing, they're letting Seattle's guards have the ball with a little bit of space. And Seattle has to knock those shots down. Jewel Lloyd has certainly been effective. She's 5 of 7 and 2 of 2 from 3.
Free throws good, 42-33. As we mentioned, the 7-point deficit could go to 12 easily, or it could go to 2 or 3 easily. Right now it's edging up towards 12. Lloyd mishandles the basketball, saves it to nobody. Turnover on Seattle. That's double digits in this one. So in the last, 6 quarters, there's been 37 turnovers.
Yeah, for Seattle, 27, a season high versus Connecticut in that loss, and the same problems are killing them.
Thomas up and in. It's a double-digit advantage for the first time in the game, 44-33. Howard making her move, going inside, and a foul. That's only 4 team fouls on Connecticut. So we'll be underneath. We're going to bring Crystal Langhorne in for this possession. Blake Dietrich as well is going to get off the bench for the first time tonight. They'll replace Natasha and Jordan Canada. Want to make sure that Natasha doesn't get her 3rd foul here in the last 44 seconds. Dietrich to Jewel. Pick and roll now back to Blake. Here's Clark with it. And a foul underneath, and that will send Seattle to the free throw line. So they can earn a couple here. As I mentioned, they've only taken 4 free throws, only made 1 of them so far. So the deficit at the free throw line is 6 points. Where Seattle is even remotely making this a game is because of the 18 points they have scored behind the arc. They outscore Connecticut here in the first half, 18-3 from 3-point range. The 2-point range and the free throw line have been all sun. And the first one's no good by Langhorne. Paris in for Russell here. The second one's no good. My goodness. The Seattle ball, though, is Alicia Clark. Wanted the foul there, didn't get the call, but at least she saved it off the leg of a Sun player, so it'll be Dietrich to inbounds underneath. Good cut by Paris and gets it up and in. The easy one she missed earlier. This one was much more difficult, making the catch, falling away from the basket, getting contact, and putting it up and in. Fouls on Jonquel Jones. They didn't like the call. That's her 2nd. So a free throw here gets you to 8. If you can get a stop and a bucket, then all of a sudden, you feel right in it. She glasses that one. So stop and a bucket here for Seattle is what they need before the half. 7-second differential in game and shot clock. So there will be time for Seattle. Williams against Lloyd. Screen by Jones. Good D by Clark. Seattle's got no fouls to give here. Thomas. They don't need a foul to give because they force a shot clock violation. The defense stepping up for Seattle. Now can they get a bucket on the other end? Jewel with 5. Big screen by Paris into the help. The leaner, no good. Paris tries to keep it alive and can't do it. And that will end the first half of play. So the damage looked like it was going to be done as that lead got up to 11, but Seattle was able to get the 3-point play, get it back to single digits. Let's get down to Elise Woodward with head coach Dan Hughes.
All right, Coach, you look over the scoreboard right now, down by 8, and a lot of the turnovers. You knew that coming in, but they're just so quick. What are the adjustments you need to make there?
Well, I think, if we're not turning it over, we're getting great shots. So I think we just got to have a little composure and slow down. I'd rather they hang on to it rather than put a 50-50 ball, because that's their game. But when we've executed and taken care of the ball, we've gotten pretty good shots.
I've also thought defensively, when you've had time to set up in the half court, you've been very good at forcing tough shots, but they've been able to get out and run. So do you have to make adjustments? You feel pretty good about your half court D?
Well, I think we got to make adjustments from the standpoint of being able to play under duress, throwing out of it, then seeking the pain in what we're doing. If we do that, then our defense is going to get better just right along with it.
Thanks for your time, Coach. Good luck in the second half. We'll send it back over to you, Dick.
Thanks, Elise. Both teams have taken 36 shots in this game, but it's Connecticut shooting 50%, 18 of 36. Seattle at just 39%, 14 of 36. We'll have our stats. We'll have our highlights coming up next at halftime. 44-36 our score.
Time has been presented by Symetra, the official life insurance partner of the Seattle Storm. And brought to you in part by Swedish, the official medical care team of the Seattle Storm. Health for good. And supported by Carter Subaru, planning a forest one test drive at a time. In Shoreline, Ballard, and at CarterSubaru.com.
8-point deficit here as we start the third quarter of play from Alaska Airlines Arena in Seattle. Dick Fain along with Elise Woodward. The Connecticut Sun trying to go to 21-9 on the season. And Elise, if the past proves to be the future, it's not good news for Seattle because the Storm 5-11 when trailing in half. What's worse, Connecticut is 14-0 when they lead at halftime. They get you down and they keep you down.
Well, and they certainly have played well, especially defensively here in Seattle. And Seattle looking for some payback for the win that they nearly secured in Connecticut. A 13-point lead in the second half, and they could not close the deal.
Connecticut trying to be the first team to sweep, the only team to sweep Seattle this year. Kick basketball, Connecticut's ball. Nobody swept Seattle last year in their championship run. So the last time it's happened was Connecticut in 2017. So this team has had Seattle's number. There's no question about it. Nice defense by Howard, but Thomas puts it up over the top and in. Canada topside with it to Lloyd. To Jordan. See if Seattle can go side to side with it. Ooh, spin move by Jordan, getting in the middle and scoring. How about Jordan creating her own offense?
And you'd like to see that. She was a little hesitant to shoot inside the lane in the first half. Had a couple of looks, and I thought she could have got off, but she instead threw it out. That time she spun and got an open look.
Thomas against Canada. 9 on the shot clock. The Thomas handoff. Here's Jasmine Thomas. Tries to get it back to Alyssa, but it gets knocked out of bounds. They're going to say last touch by Seattle. Dan Hughes, a quizzical look on his face. Watch this move. Whoop.
Yeah, just getting in, feeling the contact, spinning away from it, and then able to get that shot to go despite the contact.
Good D there by Alicia Clark, knocking it away from Shakina Strickland, and it'll be Connecticut basketball, but only 3 ticks left on the shot clock underneath.
So watch for the lob play to Jonquel Jones. She's looking at her teammates right now. Ball switched to the other side.
At least you got 6'5.5" Gardner. Got a whistle.
I think they're going to get Alicia Clark for moving through a screen.
Oh, man, tough foul on Seattle because that resets the shot clock.
And not only that, or was it?
Wow. I did not see what the call was.
So since the foul came on a dead ball as Alicia Clark was running through the foul, you get an automatic free throw.
And Jonquel Jones makes it a
Knocking it down.
3-point possession. 49-38, back to the biggest lead of the game at 11. Lloyd has it. Hip check screen by Howard. Howard, a lot of orange jerseys in there. Back to Jewell.
Connecticut
Jewell double
defense
team in
swarming.
trouble. Indeed. And a good jump ball there forced by Connecticut.
And not only that, they're just really physical. Alicia Clark was trying to come around a screen. Look at that, just getting in, closing the lane so that Lloyd cannot get rid of it, can't find a teammate, and then getting those sticky hands in there to force the jump ball.
Connecticut, Washington, who's your favorite to win this whole thing?
No, for me, the way that Washington is playing offensively, it's on both ends. They've been good, but they have been astounding on the offensive end.
Yes, they have.
They're outscoring other teams in efficiency by 14 points per game. I mean, it's...
And that's usually been the indicator. The overall net rating for teams usually is the indicator of who wins the WNBA championship.
And Connecticut is number 2 in that, but well below where Washington is.
May come down to home court. Oh, offensive rebound, Natasha, and she is fouled. And right now, home court is Washington's, but not by much. If Connecticut wins this game, they're 1 game back of Washington, 22-8 versus 21-9.
It's interesting when you look at the different analytics. Las Vegas is 3rd amongst those. I mean, I think right now in terms of power rankings, it would be Washington and then Connecticut and Las Vegas.
Right.
And in terms of scoring margin and efficiency, it's Minnesota, which is very surprising that the Lynx right now, they're playing really good basketball.
It's just amazing the swing we've seen from west to east in the last 12 months in the WNBA. I mean, you could make a serious argument that the 2 best teams in the WNBA last year were both in the Western Conference, and maybe even deeper than that.
Now, Phoenix right now has to close the season strong, or they're not going to be in the playoffs.
Right.
And that was an epic 5-game series with the world champs, Seattle, last year.
Best series I've ever seen. Oh, putting it up and in is Thomas, who's had a heck of a game, and she is fouled. And look at the Connecticut team. They are fired up right now. They are smelling this one. They're up by 14, and they have really done a nice job coming out of the half, silencing this crowd.
Their ball movement and passing has been on point and quick, and Seattle's defense just has not been able to recover, and that was case in point right there. The defense goes flying and making the extra pass down low to Thomas.
Thomas can't convert the 3-point play, and Jewell has it with 15 on the shot clock. Boy, every time a catch is made, there's an orange jersey there. Mercedes Russell puts it up, get in there, and it will go. And Mercedes Russell just kind of staying with the play and is rewarded.
And staring at the ball, saying, get in there and stay in there. She gets this one rejected by Jones, one of the best shot blockers in the league, and then flips that one up and in and stares it down.
Fouls on Jasmine Thomas. Jonquel Jones was down there, but Jonquel's got 3 fouls. Was not on her. And the 3rd and 1 today opportunity for Mercedes Russell, but she's missed both free throws. And she's missed all 3 free throws.
Yeah, she started out this season shooting so well from the line, but has dropped down now to 67%.
Thomas now to Williams. Good D by Lloyd, staying in front. Nothing doing for Courtney. Good backdoor cut there. Thomas will lay it up and in. I don't know what's better, the pass or the cut.
And another beautiful assist. The playmaking from Connecticut, setting up the teammates. And they're shooting the ball 56% on the game.
Lloyd hounded to Clark. Inside Natasha against Jones. Fadeaway, tough shot, back iron. Jones, pull pass, long arm of the law right there. Mercedes Russell. 3-on-3 the other way for Lloyd. Back to Natasha, pump fakes the 3.
Good help there by Williams.
Lloyd's just going to settle, but knock it down. And on a night like this, I guess Jewel Lloyd can settle for those shots because she has been carrying this Seattle offense. 6 of 9, 3 of 4 from 3. She's got 15 points in its 11-point game.
She's the only player in double figures, the only player with more than 6 points for Seattle.
She knew she had to take some of the scoring load, a lot of the scoring load this year without Brianna Stewart and Sue Bird. And Shakina Strickland as the shot clock expires, knocking it home from downtown.
And that's the one player Connecticut wants to find with the shot clock winding down, and that's the one player Seattle doesn't want to leave from 3 in that point. And the way this game has gone, Connecticut finds Strickland in rhythm, in stride, and she knocks it home.
Big play here. Spin move by Jordan Canada. Draws the foul on Jonquel Jones. So we still have 16 minutes of basketball yet. And Jonquel Jones has 4 fouls. And so she's going to have to sit out for an extended period. Seattle, Elise, is 3 of 10 from the stripe right now. Not helping themselves out. Wow. If they were just shooting their average, they'd have 6 more points. They have 6 more points right now. 7 more points right now.
This is an 80% free throw shooting team at the line. Connecticut is the team that normally struggles significantly from the line. They're only at 61%, but vastly better than Seattle's 4 of 12.
This is a 6-point game if Seattle shoots 80% from the free throw line. And instead they're shooting 33. Bucket there, making it 60-45. 15-point game. And Dan Hughes wants to talk about it. 5:39 left to go in the third quarter. Seattle down by the largest margin of the game, 15. We'll see what they can do to chop into it coming up next. Hey, fans interested in becoming a new Storm 360 season ticket member for 2020, place a $100 per seat deposit now and get in line for next season. Receive playoff priority on current 2019 Storm playoff run tickets. Call 206-217-WNBA. That's 206-217-9622 to place your deposit today.
Well, in Connecticut in this game is shooting 58%. They've had some nice passing, good teamwork. Really the ability to play defense and then run off steals and turnovers have gotten them high percentage looks in transition. But even in the half court in this second half, they've been sharp.
They are racking up the fouls, though, in this quarter. That is already their 4th team foul. We still have 5:30 left. So if Seattle could actually make some free throws, they could get back into this ball game at the line here in the third quarter, but they have not been able to do such. They're 4 of 12.
Now, the one player that has yet to go to the free throw line is Jewel Lloyd, who shoots at 95%.
Right.
Excuse me, 94%. That'd be one player that, I mean, she's been so hot from deep, 15 points, and all coming on jumpers.
Howard trying to force the issue, and it's swiped away by Thomas, and we got a kick ball. Whose foot would it go off? That was Mercedes Russell.
And Connecticut has done a really nice job against Natasha Howard. Leaning on her and then pushing her to Jonquel Jones when she's on the floor. Just a lot of bodies surrounding Howard. She's just 2 of 7 in this game for 6 points.
60-45, 15-point lead, 5:11 left to go. In the third quarter, Strickland with it. Connecticut has not missed a shot this half. Here's Williams. There's one. Rebound by Alicia Clark. 7 for 8 now, Connecticut in the half. Natasha Howard backing in on Thomas. Gets it behind the back, get it poked free, and another turnover on Seattle. That's 12.
Thomas holding her ground against Howard. Couldn't back her down, and then just the ball flipped loose by the help defender.
Crossover on Lloyd. Good move. Ooh, they're going to get a late call on Jewel Lloyd, and Thomas will go to the free throw line.
Now, Thomas in this game has been rock solid, leading the Sun in points with 16, 8 boards. She's 7 of 9. And that wasn't Thomas there, or not Alyssa Thomas. That's
Jasmine Thomas.
Jasmine Thomas.
Misses the free throw. She's a 79% free throw shooter.
And Jasmine Thomas has been pretty solid in her 19 minutes as well, with 6 points and 3 of 7 from the floor.
Up and in for a 16-point lead. Jewell, triple threat position, gets a pick from Russell. Comes left, comes in hard, and shot is blocked and running the other way. That's what Connecticut does. They get steals and rebounds, and they will push you. Bounce pass off of Russell's foot again, and this one is retained by Connecticut underneath. Bounce pass inside. Russell has it well defended, but scooping it up and in there is Brianna Jones, who just came into the game, the big center from Maryland.
Dan Hughes asking for the travel. Thought she might have slid her feet, but no call coming. And another bucket for Connecticut, now shooting 57.8% in this game. Russell
spinning, firing too strong. It's a lot of one-on-one basketball by Seattle right now. Connecticut threatening to just end this puppy in the third. Here's Thomas again, putting it up and in, and the foul on Crystal Langhorne. It is a 20-point lead for the Connecticut Sun. Alyssa Thomas on the game with 18 points, leading all scorers. 8 of 10 from the field. My goodness.
And that one, when you put your hand down, the officials will call that. And Thomas, the strength to go through the contact. She has had herself such a game. 18 points, 8 boards. Has only missed 2 shots from the field. She's 8 of 10. She's missed more from the line than she has from the floor.
Which she does on the season, just about. She's 50% from the field and 51.5% from the free throw line, if you believe it or not. Canada with it. Bullet pass. That one's almost stolen by Strickland. Alicia Clark puts it up and in and stops a little bit of the bleeding here. Alyssa Thomas, high for the year is 28. She's been over 25 times this season, and she looks like she's going to get there this game right here. Plenty of time left. She only needs 2 more points. Canada running in, scooping it up with the right hand. Can't get it to go. Seattle does not have a back-to-back field goal since the first quarter. The 2-minute mark of the first quarter. It has been a long drought, and we talked about that on Sunday. They had long droughts on Sunday. Their offense really just hasn't been clicking very well this week.
Well, the problem for Seattle is they rely so much on their defense to create their offense, and they just have not been able to turn over Connecticut in this game and to get steals and to get out and run. And the fast break points, 15 for Connecticut, 0 for Seattle, 0. They don't win games if they don't get some points in transition.
How about points in the paint right now? 40-12. Wow. Skata Lewis in. Whitcomb in. Sammy. Quick catch and shoot. No. Thomas. Lazy pass. Almost got picked off by Jordan Canada. Jones. Skip pass over the top. Now Thomas has it. Switched off on by Crystal Langhorne. Little leaner. No. Langhorne wrestles it down.
And the one thing Connecticut does really well is they just kind of hover in the backcourt. So when Seattle does get a rebound, they're trying to find Canada, trying to be able to push. They're just hovering right there to pick it.
Russell, nice strong move. They've been going to that well. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't. Thomas with it, a little short on that one, can't get a hold of it. Brianna Jones gets it and is fouled, and she'll go to the free throw line. Fans did not like that call, and neither did Dan Hughes. He has a incredulous look on his face right now as he walks over to Jeff Smith.
You know, the ball kind of bouncing around underneath. As a foul.
Yeah, got her.
Mercedes Russell got ball, but went right through the wrist to be able to get to that ball. Dan Hughes, I think, is just trying to find a way. Just frustrating watching his team The ball has not bounced their way in this one, but give Connecticut credit. Their defense has been smothering this entire game, just not allowing Seattle to ever get in a rhythm or be comfortable.
Is there at all credence in the theory that when they clinch that playoff spot, maybe just a little bit of a subconscious exhale by this team?
Well, I would, I talked to Dan Hughes about the fact that they are in the playoffs and the focus, and he goes, nobody, not Connecticut, not Washington, not everybody is fighting for something right now. You're not resting your stars like you do in other leagues and other sports because there's so much on the line. They desperately want a home court game. They want the 5 or the 6 seed, if at all possible. So every one of these games is extremely important to Seattle, just like Connecticut is pushing for that number 1 seed for home court advantage.
Ooh, that's just an ill-advised pass. Holmes with it, feeding Thomas, no good. Alyssa Thomas with it. After Williams misses the shot, Alyssa Thomas back up. Alyssa now with 20 and 11. And another pick nearly by Williams. And they are just feasting right now. It is a hungry pack of wolves out there, 71-49.
You always hear about how players don't want to play defense. Well, these Connecticut guards love to play defense. You see that? They were ready. Because you know what happens when you pick it off? You go get a lane at the other end, or you get, some of the 3-on-1 situations that they've had where you can pass the ball around and get a little fancy. Connecticut's having some fun here in Seattle tonight, that is for sure.
This is a Seattle team that came in at 10-5 at home. And Connecticut was just 6-8 on the road this year. It's not like they've been a dominant road team. Another turnover on the Storm. 1 second left. They'll chuck it up. And before that shot there, Connecticut was 11 of 17 on the quarter. And they have pretty much put this one in the icebox. 71-49. Back for the fourth right after this.
Storm Basketball, presented by Swedish, the official medical care team of the Seattle Storm. Health for good. Sponsored in part by Carter Subaru, planning a forest one test drive at a time. In Shoreline, Ballard, and at cartersubaru.com. And by BECU, the official credit union of the Seattle Storm.
Beautiful evening outside Seattle. Not so beautiful for Storm fans in Alaska Airlines Arena. Hey, fans, join the conversation. Engage with the Seattle Storm on Twitter and Instagram, and like the Seattle Storm on Facebook. You can get the inside scoop on Storm basketball news, promos, and contests all season long. Next fan, Elise Woodward. Seattle needs a miracle here in the fourth quarter. We do not commonly see this franchise down by this many with 10 minutes left to go in a ball game, but they were only 5 of 13 in that third quarter. Connecticut 11 of 17 shooting. Dietrich in the ball game now. Seattle has turned it over 16 times. And a nice feed there from Dietrich inside to Crystal Langhorne. A good opportunity here for a player like Blake Dietrich, who's still looking for her first field goal of her Storm career.
And that time just playmaking from that point guard spot. Finding Crystal Langhorne on the pick and roll to the hoop, and it was a pretty pass over the top.
Second foul on Brianna Jones. Langhorne misses the free throw, and that has been one of the themes of the evening. 4 of 13. Seattle from the stripe tonight. And they get that one.
That was the first for Langhorne. Missed her first 3.
Holmes with it. Thomas the runner. Everything's been going in for her. Why not shoot a left-handed runner from 15, right?
The degree of difficulty on that one, very high, but she made it look smooth and easy. Now 10 of 14 from the floor for 22 points. Double for Thomas, 22 and 11 boards.
Howard backing in, tries to feed Mosqueda Lewis, and they cough it up yet again. 17 turnovers, and Connecticut has done a great job on this end, capitalizing. They have 17 points off the prior 16 turnovers. Jones back to Williams. Wasn't intended for her, but what the heck? And that's the way it's been for Connecticut. They miss a pass, throw it to the wrong player, and they still hit a 3.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and certainly on that possession. Should have been picked. It wasn't. free ball going down. They have not shot the ball from deep a lot, just 3 of 8 for Connecticut, but they haven't had to. Just been scoring at will in the paint.
Just so impressed with the quick hands. Free ball by Howard as the shot clock expires and Thomas wrestles it down.
This Seattle Storm team just has gone on an offensive drought, and we've seen that at times this season. They're so good defensively, but when their defense does not force turnovers, when they can't get out and run, when they can't get high percentage shots in transition, their offense just has a hard time consistently putting up points.
Good ball movement. Holmes misses the runner. Howard off to Mosqueda Lewis. Natasha attacking. Got a good seam and raked over the arm.
And you can tell even from the body language, the whistle coming in a little bit late for Natasha Howard after the defense came and hit her on the arm as she was going through the lane, and you can just see her kind of looking towards the ceiling saying, geez, she just cannot get anything easy going today. Howard 2 of 8 and just 6 points. She had 27 points against this Sun team in Connecticut.
Seattle trying to get the ball movement. They have 14 assists tonight after a season low 10 on Sunday. 1 on the shot clock. Lloyd, bails him out. Bails him out with a long 3. That's been the one bright spot. Jewel Lloyd's best game since she's come back from her injury. Powering it up is Holmes there.
Jewel Lloyd, the one player on this team in double figures, the one player for Seattle that shot the ball better than 50%, 7 of 11.
Langhorne draws the foul. I don't think they're going to get the continuation on that. This isn't 1987 NBA. If that was Magic Johnson, that would have been an and one. The old foul and the dribble and the 2 steps and then lay it up and in. So Crystal Langhorne will go to the free throw line. This is the worst free throw shooting game, not necessarily by percentage because there was a 5 of 10 game, but well, it is now because they're well below 50%, so it is their worst free throw shooting game. 6 of 15 right now at 40%. Their prior low was 50. Thomas has it. Holmes against Clark.
Sending that pressure full court. 2 players in the backcourt, but didn't make a difference.
Jump shot off the mark. See if Seattle can make it respectable here in the next few minutes. Here's Clark. Wide open 3-ball. That's up and in. Need a lot more of those. 19-point game. You look at Seattle's D. They certainly haven't given up on the defensive end. There's no question about that. This has been more of an offensive problem than a defensive problem. Oh, putting it up and in. A nice runner there is Jasmine Thomas with the one hand. Langhorne the big 1-2 and a blocking foul. And that is already the 4th team foul on Connecticut. So just like they were in the 3rd quarter, Seattle should be shooting a lot of free throws here in the 4th, which is maybe a good thing if they can make them. 6 of 15 thus far from the stripe.
No, when you're looking at time and score and you're down by 21 with just 6 minutes to go, you better have the clock stopped. You either be making threes or be able to set your defense after some free throws and bring full court pressure.
Langhorne's first free throw is up and good.
And I think at this point it is.
Morgan tuck in.
It's much more about respectability than anything else. Connecticut is rolling in this one. 80 points on the board already.
Back to 19 we go with 6 minutes left. Tuck thinks about it, pulls the trigger. Back iron. Courtney Williams keeping it alive inside to Jones. Nice job by Williams just to tip that to the teammate. Langhorne thinking about a 28-footer, and that one's a little bit deep. She's extended her range, just not that far. 5:39 left. We'll take a break. 82-61 our score, all Connecticut. Hey fans, Seattle Children's a proud sponsor of the Doppler Train, a Seattle Storm tradition. Seattle Children's mission is to provide hope, care, and cures to help every child live the healthiest and most fulfilling life possible. We thank Seattle Children's for all their support of Storm basketball. 82-61 our score here from Alaska Airlines Arena. It appears that the Connecticut Sun will be the one and only team to sweep the Seattle Storm this year. No one did it last year. Connecticut did it in 2017. So, other than last year where Seattle took care of business, it's been a tough nut to crack, this Sun team under Kurt Miller.
Dan Hughes going back to his starters for one last push. 5.5 minutes to go.
Jones strong inside. Look at the footwork there and the little left-handed jump hook. That was nicely done.
And she's played well, efficient coming in. Off the bench, 11 minutes, 8 points. Perfect from the floor, 3 of 3.
Long pass inside. Good footwork by Mercedes Russell, but can't put the shot in. Tuck with the rebound. Inside 5 to play for Williams. Stonewall, double teamed. And we got a timeout taken by Courtney Williams as she was trapped. And Kurt Miller says, I want a full. So talk about it. 84-61. Connecticut shooting 57% from the field at 35-62. They have not need to get it done from the three-point line. They've only made 3 of those. Seattle at 22 out of 55. We'll take a quick timeout. 84-61. Back to Seattle right after this. Remaining 4 games of the regular season for the Seattle Storm. Only one at home, as Elise mentioned in the outset of the broadcast. That's it for Alaska Airlines Arena. Sunday, Fan Appreciation Day against Atlanta at 4 o'clock. Get your tickets at stormbasketball.com. And then it is a road trip to end it. Phoenix, LA, Dallas. And a loss tonight would push Seattle into the 7th spot, which means they would not have a home game if the season ended after this one. But fortunately, the season doesn't end after this one. But it's not an easy road for Seattle over the last 4 games, that's for sure. Lloyd back to Howard. Pump fake, driving in. Nice speed inside. Boy, there's been a few of those missed tonight. This one by Russell.
I just have not shot the ball nearly as well as Connecticut. They're at 57%. Seattle at 40%.
Holmes fouled. She'll go to the stripe. Was it on the... Yes, sir. 2 shots. Last time Seattle was 500, which they will be after this game at 15-15. July the 5th. They were 8-8. They have been above 500 now for over a month and a half. Free throws no good. Substitution is Natasha Heidemann. The rookie out of Marquette back in. She'll replace Jasmine Thomas. Holmes in her 3rd year out of West Virginia. Knocks that one down.
Well, the steals in this game have been absolutely different. 13 steals. The pressure from Connecticut has gotten to Seattle all game long. Seattle, these 2 teams, remember, number 1 and number 2 in the league in steals. And instead, it's been all Connecticut. 13 steals in this one, Seattle 3.
Kurt Miller still yelling out instructions despite being up 24. Jordan Canada at the free throw line. Looks like she's going to be replaced, as just about everybody's going to get replaced that's on the floor right now. After this free throw is Courtney Paris, Sammy Whitcomb, Lena Mosqueda-Lewis are all going to come in, and then Shavonte Zealous is going to replace Canada if she makes this free throw. So Natasha Howard night is over. Elise, and the free throw is missed. Howard, 9 points against Phoenix on June the 30th. That was the only other time she's been under 10 points. So a season low 6 tonight for Natasha.
8 shots. That's all she got today, 2 of 8. The defense for Connecticut was incredible in a lot of different categories.
Heidemann, her own rebound, sticking with it and putting it up and in. Canada crossover to Whitcomb. Thinks about it. Tries to get by Heidemann. Flips it up and in. Nice move by Sammy. Morgan Tuck, short arm one. Back to her. She'll re-rack? No. She'll get it over to Heidemann. Against Whitcomb. The crossover. Left hand. Finish. Boy, she looks good.
She's got some explosiveness to her game.
It's her second stint already in her rookie year with Connecticut. She was drafted, then was cut, picked up off waivers last month, brought back to Connecticut. And now you see what Connecticut liked twice. Connecticut liked her twice, didn't like her once. Liked her enough to draft her and pick her back up again. Here's Williams with it. Back iron. Rebound by Mosqueda Lewis. Jordan Canada tries to blow by Heidemann with the quickness. Whitcomb catch and shoot. No. Down to 2.5 in this 89-67 game. Seattle, number 1 scoring defense. Going to give up over 90 tonight. My goodness. And we got an offensive, or legal screen rather. Offensive. As Jordan Canada gets to sit. Javante Zulz was waiting over there for a long time to come into the game, and now she'll finish this one up. So Zealous, Langhorne, Mosqueda Lewis, Sammy Whitcomb, and Courtney Paris for Seattle.
A couple of games back-to-back for Jordan Canada where she just has not got on track offensively. 1 of 5 from the floor today, just 4 points.
18 turnovers now for Seattle. That is 45 turnovers in the last 2 against Connecticut. That is unbelievable. And Paris gets one of her own.
There certainly have not been very many games like this that I can remember where a team has just run away from Seattle in the second half, and there's really, you're just playing it out. 22-point cushion for the road team, Connecticut, here on the home floor of Seattle. It's been a long time where you thought, well, it's time to pull the starters, get ready for the next one.
Take a look. I'll take a gander here at the worst home losses for Seattle when we have a dead ball, which we do right now. I mean, Seattle's only lost 5 home games coming up into this one. Trying to find the worst one. I mean, there was a 2-point loss, a 1-point loss. There's an 11-point loss against Atlanta and a 17-point loss. Nope, that was at Vegas. Oh, the 20-point loss against Washington. That was a bad one.
And they actually played really good in that game.
They did.
It's just Washington was lights out, played amazing.
That's right. 20-point losses aren't created equally, as we've seen from this one and the Washington game.
That's when I said Washington is the team to beat. When you have a team that comes in playing on the road, beats you by 20, and you played good?
Yeah, but Connecticut forced Seattle to play poorly today.
There's no question. I think Connecticut's defense today was phenomenal.
Yes.
It was one of the best performances in just taking Seattle out of their game plan. They need to be able to turn you over to get out and run. Their defense leads to their offense. They never got on track. They never forced steals. Connecticut took care of the ball, and so that also helped them on the other end on defense. So Connecticut, well done here today. 89 points on the board and limiting Seattle to just 40% shooting and 70 points.
And that had to have been the fastest fourth quarter on record. I think we started that fourth quarter about 15 minutes ago, and it's already over. But that's what's going to happen when it's a one-sided contest, and that's what we had tonight